The big race in Indianapolis is center stage every May, but you don't have to be a racing enthusiast to focus on your engine. With Pennzoil Synthetics, you'll get complete protection for top engine performance. Pennzoil puts your vehicle center stage no matter what month it is. Pennzoil, make the switch.
With the Golics, I'm Adnan Virk in for Trey Wingo today, and you guys know I'm the captain. Let's get this out of the way right now. Sometimes the captain must go down with the ship.
Yeah.
All right, I'm rocking my We the North baseball jersey.
Yes, you
today. On ESPN News. If you're on ESPN Radio, pull over, go find ESPN News and find my jersey.
Yeah, there you go.
Because it would have been easy right now to capitulate. It would have been easy to say, all right, terrible game, one loss. They missed 11 straight shots, 5 of 24.
Yeah.
Valanciunas can't tip it in. There's a lid on the rim. The Raptors are still going to win this series.
Yeah,
and I am not scared of either of you. I don't care. You're Cleveland's finest, you're Golics, Dojo, Gojo, whatever you call yourself. We're throwing this down early. The Raptors win tonight.
That's fine. Again, anybody who may not know this about Adnan, Canadian, so big Toronto fan.
If you don't know by now that Adnan is Canadian, I don't know what you've been doing around these parts.
We're going to break down this series here in a little bit, but my initial breakdown of the Raptors, wait, excuse me a bit.
That's fine. You got something in your throat here.
I'm choking yet again. I'm sorry. Did I say that all out loud? That's my fault.
Listen.
Sorry about that.
I'm glad. Get your cheap shots
out
of the way.
Serious?
Get your jokes
Get
out of the way.
away from me, little brother. Okay?
Same old Raptors. Different story. I'm telling you. It's easy to jump off the wagon.
Hey, Mike, they're different this year.
Yeah. Minor setback for a major bounce back.
Yeah, Raptors are different this year. They're playing different ball this year.
That's right. Best bench in basketball.
Hey, feel free to not sit Lowry and DeRozan at the same time anymore, okay? Maybe start there.
This is like every one of the new Adnan, I'll venture into your territory. It's like every one of the new Jurassic Park movies right now. You can keep inventing different dinosaurs. The end result of the movie is always going to be the same. Somehow Chris Pratt's going to win.
There you go.
And he'll look great doing it.
Oh, my God.
A couple of quips along the way as well. All right, we're going to do plenty of Raptors.
We the North.
Should have get that out of the way first.
It's time for Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
We kick it off, though, with basketball from last night, fellas. Mike, as you were just talking about on First and Last, the Jazz snapped their 11-game skid in the conference semifinals by beating the Rockets 116-108, evening the series at one game apiece. And how about Donovan Mitchell? He joins John Stockton, the only Jazz rookies with a 10-assist playoff game, fourth rookie in NBA history to score 200 points in his first 8 playoff games. How about the list? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
unreal.
Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor. If you haven't been paying attention to Utah Jazz basketball in the regular season, I get it. They're not a sexy team. People aren't really following them. But Donovan Mitchell's unbelievable. And last night, that dunk, which he wasn't even sure he was going to do it. He was thinking about a floater. Then halfway through, he changes his mind. It's been one of the plays of the playoffs.
It's been, and when you put yourself in a list with those type of players, it really is incredible. And scoring, he did not have a great night at all. Just 6 of 21. I heard you talking about, Mike, this morning. Joe Ingles, who was just knocking down threes left and right, 7 of 9, 27 points for him. Joe Ingles was the star of that game. But Mitchell, just to show how great this kid is, I mean, he's not scoring well, but he's dishing all over the place with 11 assists, getting it done. This is a game where they had a 19-point lead. The Rockets came back and took the lead in the third quarter. You had to be thinking, here they go. They're going to start knocking down the threes, but they never did. Utah hit 5 more threes than they did, held them off, even up the series, get that split that you want to get on the road. And you just keep thinking we're heading to that Houston Golden State Western Conference Finals, which I still think is going to happen. But as I said yesterday, man, I'm looking forward to these teams like New Orleans and Utah and some of the things we talked about in the East going into next year.
Yeah, that's just the thing. We look at these teams and we recognize these are really good basketball teams that are just running into great basketball teams, but they're young in the process. And so you know that New Orleans is going to get a win in that series. We knew that Utah was probably going to get a win, but getting it on the road and coming back from those circumstances you talked about, we certainly and rightly criticize the Raptors for their lack of mental fortitude. But on the other side, the Jazz really showing a lot of gumption in those moments to be able to weather that storm. If you're Donovan Mitchell, to be able to find ways to manufacture a great performance on your off night, it all really does build that cachet for the future to give you that confidence the next time they're in this scenario when maybe they are a little bit better equipped.
Mike D'Antoni, we're hoping going to join us today at 9:30 a.m., and he'll talk about further the fact that, honestly, when it came to just having momentum and having spirit, he didn't think it was there. Take a listen to what he said last night after the game.
That we can correct everything, and we can correct our energy, and we can correct the necessary focus that we need to have. And you get lulled into sleep. You think this stuff's easy. It's not easy. It's the NBA. It's semifinals. It's not easy. And we kind of get lulled into it. and we paid for it.
All right, so we'll talk more about the Houston Rockets, whether or not they eased up on the gas pedal a little bit too much in just a minute.
Off the top.
Other stories, though. Mookie Betts hitting 3 home runs. The Red Sox 5-4 win over the Royals last night. Betts' 4th career 3-home run game, passing Ted Williams for the most in Red Sox history. Think about that statement. This guy's 25 years of age. No player in baseball history needed fewer games to reach a quartet of 3 home run performances. 534 career games for Betts. By the way, the Sox are now going to open a 4-game series tonight against the Rangers. And they just had a 3-home run game to Edwin Encarnacion. And honestly, Mike, you start to think, how many players in baseball would you take ahead of Mookie Betts? 25 years old, great power, 5-tool player, aside from Mike Trout, Bryce Harper. Seriously.
Right. He's right in that list.
Lindor, Arenado, he's the guy.
Absolutely on that list. You mentioned the 534 games it took him. Next closest, Johnny Mize at 701 games. But you're right. I mean, he is right there as far as things he can do and the power that he's showing right now. And when he was asked after the game about passing Ted Williams, I mean, what do you say to something like that? You know, he tried to. He was pretty calm about it, saying, I just get ready for the next day. But man, at some point, that's got to sink into the history of baseball of some people that you're passing.
Yeah, and we've now talked about, and I think rightly, this Red Sox team much more and more as the season's gone along, as they've usurped the Yankees in meaningful headlines. The Yankees, author of a couple win streaks, certainly one of their stars breaking out of a bit of a slump last night and getting some back, but just the consistent performer that Mookie Betts has been over the course of a young career and certainly this season as the Red Sox sit atop there.
Yeah, the Red Sox right now so far are great. Right now the class of the American League East, and Mookie Betts is a big part of that.
Off the top.
But Mike Golic Jr. did refer to Giancarlo Stanton breaking out last night. Take a listen.
2-2. Fly ball left field. That ball is gone. See ya. Back-to-back home runs for Stanton. And it is 3-0 Yankees.
Thanks to Michael Kay for the call. We also had the game on ESPN last night. John Shammy with the call. As Stanton hit 2 home runs, drove in all 4 runs as the Yankees won their 11th game in their last 12 tries, beating the Astros 4-0. Luis Severino threw a complete game, struck out 10, only allowed 1 walk. Such a throwback. It was great to see that. I was in studio for it last night. And Yankees manager Aaron Boone, our old buddy, reportedly gave Stanton a pep talk after he went 0-for-4 with 3 strikeouts for the second straight game. What do you think he told him?
Well, I mean, I'm sure. Listen, what would you say at that point? It's a long season.
Right.
You know, you're going to work yourself out of it. It's like Aaron Judge last year after the All-Star break when everybody thinks the home run derby just messed him up. You know, and he had a huge slump after that, but worked his way out of it. Stanton's been around a while. You know, he's going to, but he is still going to strike out a lot. That's what he does. I mean, but you see the home runs in bunches opening day, 2 home runs here again, and a whole lot of strikeouts in between. Severino is the one that had the night as far as I'm concerned. I mean, going that complete game, youngest to do so, just over 24 years since Sterling Hitchcock back in 95. So he had a monster game there, but Stanton's going to get his hits, but he's going to be close to leading the league in strikeouts as well.
Well, and that was the reminder from Aaron Boone, which is you're going to carry this team some nights, and that's the strength of this roster, but we expect that delivery each and every night, especially for a guy that is the reigning NL MVP. There are expectations that come along with that. I've just been impressed, and it's something that as a professional athlete is part of your job, but the fact that in this market, given the amount of scrutiny and given the lack of success he's had this season, to be able to maintain his even-keeled approach to certain things, maintain his process through this. You heard him talking to our broadcast crew last night. He's been able to hold that despite the mounting criticism in this market. Almost got me.
Well done. They put a clock on us.
I was about to say, I'm hearing noises again in my ear. This was like the start of the show. Mike Golic Jr. kept saying my name. Like, I'm talking to the Raptors going to lose. I'm like, are those voices in my head again, or am I actually being spoken to on national radio?
Yeah, they're putting a clock on us for each one of these.
Now you know how everyone who hears you on the Lebitard show feels. Is that Adnan again?
Get him out of here.
It's in our ear.
One more thought, despite that clock. Giancarlo Stanton is a DH, hitting 200, 420 slugging, strikes out 31% of the time. As a position player, 268, 521 slugging, 37%. I bet you Booney said, listen, I'll play in the field if you're more comfortable.
If you're more comfortable there. And by the way, you can ignore the clock all you want.
Okay, that's good news.
It's like them playing you off at the outfield.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm taking my moment.
Off the top.
To golf we go. Tiger Woods is back in action. First time since he finished 32nd at the Masters. He's going to tee it up 12:50 p.m. Eastern. Wells Fargo Championship at Quail Hollow in Charlotte. Tiger telling reporters went 10 days without touching a club. He feels comfortable enough in his testing to use a new set of tailor-made irons. It went from Tiger's back, Mike, to Masters, and okay, he still has a lot of issues. Are you now back swinging it to, all right, if he feels good, he kind of took a little break, Is he the favorite to win? Do you expect
he's
to win?
not the favorite to win. I mean, listen, it's very simple, and you'll find out today. All right? He's played in 6 official events. 3 events he's opened 70 or better, finished tied for second, tied for 5th, and 12th. 3 events he was 71 or worse, tied for 23rd, tied for 32nd, and missed the cut. So today you're going to find out what he's going to do. And he's breaking in the new set of irons, which by golfing standards, I have no idea how long it takes to break in a set of irons because I can't tell you the last time I had a new set of clubs.
I always wonder with this with professional. And
I love the candor. Yeah.
That's a very fair point. I can empathize in that.
And you're taking those clubs today.
I just went and took your bag out for a spin yesterday at the driving range. I can assure you they still work fine.
Mold on this thing, a little bit of rust.
How'd you break in those old clubs?
Yeah, no, you know what? They were fine. I knocked the rust off of them, and I reminded myself that it wouldn't matter how new or old they were. I still suck at golf.
There you go.
But with this, it's interesting. Now that we are past that Masters hurdle, and because so much of Tiger's incremental success was built towards there, how much are we going to care even if he is on top at this point, now that we don't have that backdrop to look forward to anymore? Are just these normal tournament wins going to be enough to satiate us even if they come?
Excellent use of satiate. I can't top that. That's well done.
Let's just move right on then. Huh?
Off the top.
I certainly can't spell it.
And also some hockey news as well, as the Sharks beating the Golden Knights 4-0, evening the series at 2 games apiece and dealing Vegas its first road loss and first regulation loss this postseason. The Lightning taking a 2-1 series lead over the Bruins in a 4-1 win, snapping the 3-game playoff losing streak in Boston. So good news certainly on that side of the ledger for the Sharks, because obviously you lose that game, you go down 3-1 on home ice. That couldn't happen. And bottom line is this.
As they say in hockey, let's do that hockey.
Yeah. The playoff hockey, it's been gret to watch so far.
How about this Vegas series, though? Vegas wins the first game 7-zip. You have 2 overtime games in between, and then now you got a 4-zip win by San Jose. Lightning beat the Bruins last night, 4-1 in that series. And then also other news in hockey. Yeah. The suspension came down on Tom Wilson from the Capitals. This is going to hurt them up in this series, but still that trepidation of they can't finish it off. He got suspended 3 games for the hit on Zach Aston Reese that broke his jaw. And from what we understand, it was a 1-game suspension. He was given 1 more for a repeat offender, and then 1 more because the player was hurt as bad as he was, which I know, Mike, you talked about, and I as well. I don't think that should come into play. Everybody's different on how everybody may get hit, how they may land. I don't think you can put injury in on any kind of suspension at all.
Yeah, when I heard Barry Melrose talking about it and saying I didn't think that was supposed to factor in to this equation, but we've seen enough of this in football with head injuries when leagues have a chance on big stages to make a point about player health and safety, or at least give the appearance of it. They tend to take that, and this is what it smells like to me. The league saying, oh, look, we value this kind of shot to the head. We don't think this has a place in our game. We want to make sure it looks like we're punishing appropriately.
No penalty in the game on it, but Barry Melrose said, there's too much ink being written about this and too much being said about it. The league is definitely going to come down on them, and they did.
I'm with you guys. You shouldn't use the length of injury in terms of determining suspension. Okay, just the one thought I wanted to give apparently
See, what stinks is your last.
No, there's one thought. That's it.
So
I already got to go.
We hang you out because we take too much time, and we're doing that on purpose. We said before the show, let's talk a lot. So
let's freeze out.
Adnan has never heard the clock here before. Let's make sure he hears it. Yeah.
Well, I'm hearing it now. All right. Golic and Wingo is presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guest list for today: Dan Quinn at 7, Adam Schefter at 7:30, Stugatz at 8:05, Greg Sankey at 9:10, Mike D'Antoni at 9:30. All phone guests joining us in the Shell Penzo Performance Line. If you miss any of those guests, you can listen to all 4 hours on demand in the ESPN app. Adnan Virk's in for Trey. It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. So let's sound off on that Jazz Game 2 win, brought to you by ADT. Considering home security, consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. Visit ADT.com to learn more. So you mentioned earlier, Mike D'Antoni was saying he kind of felt the Rockets took their pedal off the metal here. Is that what this is, Mike? This is a simple case of a team that's clearly the heavy favorite. Gone, all right, we've dusted off our opponent the last 3 games. Against Utah, we won't be challenged. And they proved they can come back from a huge deficit.
They did come back. I mean, they came back from 19 down and were ahead in this one. I don't know if it's a matter of taking your foot off the pedal or the fact of what happens when you don't hit your threes. Right. And that's the one thing. Listen, they make the most threes and they take the most threes. Last night they took 37 of them and hit 10. The Jazz took 32 of them and hit 15. As we said, only the third team this year to make at least 5 more threes than Houston. That's what they live and die on. So if they're not making them, if they're shooting 27% from three-point land, then they're going to struggle. That's what they live on. So I don't know if it's as much as are we taking our opponent too lightly, or if their shots aren't falling from the threes, which is what they live by, then they're going to struggle.
Yeah, I think part of it's that. I think you could give some credit certainly to Utah, who we know Rudy Gobert, defensive player of the year, type player in the middle, and seeing in these playoffs the effect of having a guy that can alter shots the way that he does in the middle, the way Joel Embiid does for the Sixers in the middle, changes the course of your defense is certainly well known. But what they did, you heard James Harden after the game, and I know kind of got contentious with the reporter when he pressed him on this, but you saw Harden getting frustrated with how much guys like Donovan Mitchell, with how much guys like Dante Exum were getting up and being physical with him really from the jump. As soon as he got the ball in the backcourt, they were on him and they were trying to make life as difficult as possible. Now, James Harden still went for 30 and 10 in this game, so he was able to get his in a lot of ways, shapes, and form, but it still disrupted that offense enough to get them out of that shooting rhythm.
Well, Chris Paul spoke with the fact clearly late in the game it was dicey.
They had already got hot, got it going. They was, slipping ball screens. They got everything tonight. Ingles 7 for 9 from the 3. They was just too comfortable. They was getting layups, dunks, free throws, a little bit of everything, and we fought back hard, but they, give them a lot of credit. They did what they were supposed to do. They came here and they got a win.
As you mentioned, Joe Ingles, every Batman needs his Robin. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell's been great, but Ingles was, 27 points, Mike. Who's expecting that out of this?
Joe Ingles, the most unassuming 27 points there. It looks like if Toby of The Office found game and made it to the league.
Does not strike fear into opponents' hearts just based on looks alone.
The perfect Utah hero, yeah, if we're going on looks alone for game 2. But a great performance. And it's all based off Donovan Mitchell, right? Like this kid, even without the scoring, is just fearless driving in there.
Absolutely driving in, kicking it out, the 11 assists. And we mentioned Dante Exum. You gave the numbers this morning, and me, I'm not as much into numbers, the second spectrum numbers, but
my dogs.
This is fantastic. Matched up defensively with Harden 22 times. The most of any Jazz player. Harden scored just 2 points in those matchups. You did mention he got 30 points. I get it. But when Exum was on him, did a great job. And all anybody could talk about was the dunk last night, right? The dunk by Mitchell. He missed the dunk probably on purpose to get his own rebound to go ahead and slam it again. I'm just kidding.
Yep.
So
here's the play.
Here, play the dunk, and then I'm going to tell you the most important thing that I heard after that dunk.
Donovan, left-hand dribble, teeth the defense, off-balance, right-hander, short, got it back! Big champion, oh my gosh! I've never seen anyone ever do that! Holy cow!
Thanks to 97.5 The Zone for the call.
So, obviously, a fantastic call, right? I mean, it would just set the world on fire. If that was at home, the place would have blown up. It would have been just going nuts like that.
Yeah.
And after the game, the presser, there's 4 players sitting there. Ingles is one of them. And they were talking about that play, or asking Mitchell about that play. He's explaining it. I decided in midair what I should do when it went off the front of the rim, so I decided to slam it. Again, deciding it in midair, which none of us.
Insane.
And so they asked Joe Ingles, what did you think about that, him deciding that in midair? And Joe Ingles, this is what goes on in basketball game. You want to talk about everybody cheering for that dunk? Do you know what the players were thinking and what should have been done? Joe Ingles said, you know what I was thinking? You should have started getting back for transition defense. He goes, and that's exactly what's going to happen in films tomorrow. He said that's exactly what the coach is going to talk about. Right. When you shot that shot, you need to get your butt back into transition defense. He said, as far as hanging in the air, Ingles said, I'll never know because I can't hang in the air that long.
Enjoy your victory
But
lap,
then he looked over at him and he said, get back in transition defense. I mean, isn't that that's the play. It's going to be seen everywhere. You ask the players and you take him down on the court and in the locker room, and that's what he said. Get your butt back in transition defense.
It's one of those moments where if you're going to do, and great players do this all the time, where if you're going to make a decision that runs counter to what you're supposed to do, you better make it and make it good. You better make it count. But as far as hanging and making decisions, the last decision I made in midair was chicken or fish. That's the only decision.
Were you in the air long enough to even make that decision? I know you're vertical.
I was. It was a 2-hour flight.
Oh, all right. You're an idiot.
Mike D'Antoni was asked if this is a wake-up call, by the way. Here's his response.
Again, guys, we're still 5-2. I mean, we're not, we haven't played 48 minutes. You don't beat people by 40 points. It just doesn't happen. We're pretty comfortable. So it could be a wake-up call. They're awake. I mean, it's just, sometimes human nature takes over, and sometimes you're trying and you don't realize that we're a step slow and all that. But we'll be ready. We'll be ready. Whether it's a wake-up call or not, we'll be ready.
I think Mike D'Antoni's right. Nobody's watching that game and saying, all right, Utah's now going to win this thing. All right, Rockets can't win every game.
No.
They did still come back, and Utah played great.
That's exactly right. Listen, we've talked about
They're
Utah as watch out for this team. Same with New Orleans. We'll see if they can get a win now going back home. I still said in the future they're going to be two fun teams to watch, but I think Houston's going to be just fine.
Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Insurance, with more than 30 unique coverage options available. Progressive knows small business. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. Coming up next, nobody believes in the Raptors except for the guy wearing the We the North baseball jersey. But up next, you will hear from a coach that's been in their position, went on to win the series.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Here's a little insider travel secret. There are tons of empty hotel rooms out there just waiting to be booked. That's why there's Hotel Tonight. Hotel Tonight partners with awesome hotels to help them fill their unsold rooms, which means you get incredible deals. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can actually book up to a week in advance and up to 100 days in advance in top destinations. So download the Hotel Tonight app to start scoring better deals at better hotels now.
Adnan Virk in for Trey. It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. You both will remember the last time I was doing this show, I wasn't feeling great, a little bit lightheaded.
Yeah.
And so this, you know what this was? I was on that cruise, Disney cruise with my family, and because I got seasick on there, I took this medication. You put this little band behind your ear.
Like the Dramamine or whatever, the patch,
And it kind of just helps you kind of, get your level. Because otherwise, when you're there, you kind of feel claustrophobic, you feel seasick, you put it on. But you get after effects of it. So since it was 2 days later, it's like I was still on the boat. I'm like, I got to get off this boat. That's why I kept darting out here all the time.
Did you feel sick this morning?
No, I feel I felt great until I felt sick to my stomach after watching the Raptors.
I got to believe you should be pretty nauseous right now. Are you kidding me?
So follow me on this.
Yeah, okay. Go. You're going to give it a shot here?
2 athletes.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just one game, all right? This is where Oh, yeah, it is Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts.
Now that we're done with paltry matters like getting ourselves paid.
It's just one game. Yeah. All right? Mm-hmm. What happens is it's psychological. Mm-hmm. It gets in your head. Mm-hmm. You buy into it too much. Oh, we missed 11 straight shots. You can't beat LeBron. Same old Raptors choking at home. You wash out all the noise and you say, all right, tonight is all that matters. You win tonight and we're all square. Obviously, if the Raptors lose tonight, the series is over. But they win tonight, and it doesn't matter if it's close, doesn't matter if it's a blowout, then we're back in business. Then all of a sudden it's a best of 5 and you got the better team, you got the better bench. And fine, LeBron's incredible. And Cleveland stepped up in game 1. The supporting cast certainly did. But Toronto's the better team, and talent wins out over the course of a 7-game series.
Are you telling us or hoping and asking?
As I say it, I'm persuading you guys to come to my position at least a little bit.
Are you looking at us like we're your therapists? and can I ask one quick question?
Please.
Since this has happened now, how many postseasons in a row?
But this is the best Raptors team we've seen, Mike.
Oh, I know. That's what we've heard. They're different.
Yeah, that's right. This is a different team this year.
How do they just wash it away? That's a throwaway line there. They can just wash. How do you just wash it? It's been happening year after year now after year. How do you wash it away?
You take
the North.
You take it one.
Don't hit me with cliches. Don't hit me with cliches.
Mike. Come on.
And then I got to tell you, I thought Rock Bottom was listening to you defend De Niro and Dirty Grandpa. This is a new low. This
underrated comedic performance.
Wait a minute. You can't say anything good about that movie.
No,
seriously,
that movie was terrible.
Okay, thank you.
Finish.
Right,
yeah, that's fair. Wally Karen, by the way, liked that movie.
Was that movie worse or the Toronto Raptors performance in Game 1?
What would you rather do? Watch Raptors Game 1 or Dirty Grandpa?
Locked in a room with only Raptors highlights for the end of time or Dirty Grandpa.
It'd be like in a Clockwork Orange. I've just got my eyes open.
Seriously, what are in the basketball we can talk about?
Sure.
But what are the fans going? You're the fan right now. What are all of you going through? Are you trying to convince yourself that we're different this year and we can wash away Game 1?
It was literally the worst case scenario, right?
Yeah,
like if you lose the game, if LeBron put up 50, you go, all right, that happens, right? He's the best player on the planet. He's going to do that sometimes. If DeRozan and Lowry didn't shoot well, okay. But to lead the entire game, just think how cruel that is. To lead 99.9% of the game. And literally, in overtime, you lose it. And they had chances. Van Vliet's three. If he hits a three at the end of regulation or in overtime, it's different. If Valanciunas gets the tip in or DeRozan, it's a different story. So that's what I think you have to tell yourself.
Why Van Vliet's even taking the shot? We don't really know, do we?
Well, the bottom line is this. It can be easy to say the Raptors are done, but George Karl, who is 6th on the NBA's all-time wins list, was on Freddie and Fitzsimmons. He believes.
I thought it was a really bad start for Toronto, but I still think they're going to figure it out and make it a really good series. They do too many things well. Dwayne Casey, I think, has done a fantastic job of tinkering with his weaknesses every summer. He seems like his teams come back. When his defense was weak, he's made it stronger. When his offense was weak, he's made it more efficient. And I think this is the best team he's ever had up there. LeBron had an average game for him, and that was the game you probably were going to get, and they didn't get. And maybe it was the limelight or just they haven't been able to figure out how to beat LeBron, and maybe the mental game, the mind game, got him a little bit.
Here's what I'll say in your defense.
I appreciate it, Mike.
And as a Cavalier fan. You know who the one player outside of LeBron James that I think we can count on? I say we.
Not Kevin Love.
No.
He played,
definitely not Kevin Love.
Tristan Thompson. Right. For the last 2 games, he started Game 7 against the Pacers, goes for 15 and 10. He comes off the bench in this one, and Game 1 goes 14 and 12. So, but it's only a 2-game sample right now. A 2-game sample, and you almost have to say, well, he's the one that we can maybe count on because he's got that good high pick and roll relationship going on with LeBron. Because other than that, I don't know who tonight. Who else we can count on? Kevin Love has been horrid at times,
and they're still going to stick with him.
Stick with him at center. So Thompson will come off the bench again. J.R. Reed hit shots, which he can do, but doesn't do it consistently. So I don't know who they're going to count on. I have no idea. We sit there and talk a lot of smack about it's over and blah, blah, blah. But in all honesty, have no idea who the next guy in the Cavs is going to be.
Well, and I think important, too, if you are going to try and rationalize this for Toronto, LeBron James did, coming off that Game 7, have to play another 47 minutes in this game in order to help them get the win. And while it wasn't his best performance, we've seen the give and take with LeBron. We saw Game 2 in the last series, where LeBron goes off in that game, and it's still neck and neck right on down to the end because at times the rest of his camp around him does completely drop the ball in these situations. So you could very realistically have that and still it be a good chance for the Raptors to win if they're not productive.
So let me give you some hope maybe there.
I love how this is turned, by the way.
Now,
this is like a therapist thing. You start to give me hope.
But now I'm going to take it away because Mike just said LeBron needed, 47 minutes, all that time in that game?
Yeah.
Was that already played 47? Yeah, 47 minutes.
26 points, 13 assists.
So, wow, he's going to be tired for Game 2, right?
Yeah.
Will LeBron be tired in Game 2? History says no. He's averaged almost 32 points a game in postseason games immediately following an overtime contest.
So cruel.
Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, we the North.
What is wrong with you, Golic? Well, back to Junior's point, I don't expect...
Oh, sure, go back to that.
You think Kyle Korver's going to score 19 again? You think J.R. Smith's going to score 20
that's
again?
The thing.
You think Jeff Green's going to score 16 again? That's not happening.
You're
Mike.
right.
You know
I can tell you Jeff Green's definitely not going to score 16 again.
So, listen, you're right. For as much smack talk as we're going to have in our fun, and for this game to get away from the Raptors the way it did, I mean, it couldn't have started worse for them.
Right.
You're right. I have no clue. Somebody has to. Who's it going to be? Now, again, Tristan Thompson can have a nice game, a double-double, but it's usually 12, 13, 14, and 10 or 11. They need someone to score 20 and 19 or 22 or something like that. I don't know who that's going to be.
There's not a consistent supporting cast. Althougugh, I don't think Jonas Valanciunas is going to score 21 points and have 21 rebounds.
Well, if Kevin Love stays out there the whole game, he will.
That's the thing. His at least are coming from point-blank range. Like, the Cavs need their three-point shooters to hit. Valanciunas, those are point-blank shots. The chance he had to win it at the end of regulation. Right. Those are point-blank shots that could and should have gone in.
Mavs head coach Rick Carlisle on Freddie and Fitzsimmons. He's been in the Raptors' position before and won the series.
They got to get Game 2 somehow. But I've been in that situation, that Toronto's in. In 2003, we lost Game 1 of the first round to Orlando and ended up in a 7-game series and ended up winning in 7. When you lose the first game at home, you've got to bounce back and get Game 2, and you're likely headed for a long series. And so I would think that is going to be a long series. I felt it would be a long series regardless of who won Game 1. There's some history there with Cleveland and Toronto, so it's very compelling stuff.
So will you play?
Will I wear this shirt again tomorrow when I fill in?
Will you play George Karl and Rick Carlisle, those bites in your car all the time, all day? Just keep listening. We have a chance.
We have a chance.
These coaches say we have a chance. We have a chance. We have a chance.
They win tonight.
Listen, I wouldn't be shocked if they win tonight. Right. Toronto, right?
Yeah.
I thought they would win Game 1.
Yeah. They should have won Game 1, and they're the better team. They win Game 2, we get a best of 5.
Cleveland already.
And Cleveland's still happy. We got to win one on the road. We did it.
Cleveland already got out of it what they needed, but I'm sure now the thought process is, man, go up 2-0, really take their will, and then we could end this maybe quicker and have a little more rest after this series before we get to the conference finals.
That's the thing I worry about, if I'm being really honest with this situation, is the Cavs were playing with house money in Game 1, and they knew it. That was a team that I think for most of the first half was almost going through the motions. LeBron James certainly seemed to be. Now you're going to get same game script as last series. Assertive LeBron in Game 2. You're going to get that coming out of the gate. If Toronto can weather that early storm, they'll have a chance in this game. If LeBron James can come out and drown them, this could be over in 4.
I always find that funny when they go, like Tyler will say, I just told LeBron to be aggressive. Like, does he need to be told that? Like this is the greatest player on the planet. Like, hey, you go do yours, right? Really? You don't want to get these other guys involved? No. You go get yours. Okay?
Those other guys stink. Forget them.
Was it the most obvious thing in the world in Game 2 of that last series that he was going to come out and just obliterate everything? He did it at history pace, but still, was there any doubt he was going to? Yeah, he didn't need to be told that.
Right. Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage in America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. Hey, the win all of us we can agree on?
Yeah.
Game at 6 Eastern tonight. That's huge.
Phenomenal.
That's huge.
Phenomenal.
Love it.
So you just wonder, at least it's earlier that we can do the
No, there's no gagging. There's no gagging when the game starts at 6. Toronto feels great.
I'll be choking.
The timing is good.
I'll be choking during dinner instead of my late night snack.
Mike Myers will make sure it doesn't happen.
I'm a one-trick pony, literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la, aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Back here on Cinephile, this is literally 30 minutes after the Academy Awards ended. Producer Dan Stanzik, my man Ben Linesman. Shape of Water wins for Best Picture and Best Director.
When Shape of Water was announced as the Best Picture winner, the first thing I thought of was Mike Golic. Golic is sitting somewhere in his Connecticut mansion, furious, throwing Doritos at the screen. The fish man, come on! Sorry, Mike Golic, that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences disagrees with you.
Next thing you know, Fishman will be a superhero. SportsCenter brought to you by Shell. When you join the Fuel Rewards program at Shell, you save 5 cents a gallon on every fill. And if you join between now and May 27th, you'll save an additional 25 cents per gallon on your second fill. To join, download the Fuel Rewards app. Start saving today.
That is Mike Golic Jr. I'm Adnan Virk. In for Trey today, we are Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Just wait for Shape of Water, the TV show. You know it's coming at some point. So in honor of Avengers Infinity War, first off, I want to get your take, Mike Jr. What'd you think of it?
I was impressed. I thought given the amount they had to bring together and tie together, it was well done. Yeah. Great fight scenes. I thought Thanos, after a 10-year wait, was the villain that we deserved in this. This raving genocidal lunatic who actually has a weird amount of heart.
I like the fact he's an environmentalist.
Right? Very 2018 villain.
He wants to eradicate half the population to save the earth. I'm like, all right, well, I kind of get
instead of maybe getting more food or anything like that or shelter, he went the other way on that one.
Exactly.
For me, I think all these movies, superhero movies, I do my five donuts are in the 3 to 3.5 range. Nothing has really fallen below that, and nothing really has gone above that. They're all kind of right there. This one, for me, thinking overall about it, it got a little busy. Now,
there's so many characters, 25 superheroes.
I've seen a lot of this. It is one of those, like, if you haven't seen a lot of it,
you get lost.
You're going to get lost in it. And that's my wife hasn't seen all of them.
Yeah.
So she wanted to go. She likes the movies, but she's like, wow, you're really going from here to here. And wait, who is that guy? Yeah. You know, and so there was a little bit of that.
Right.
I mean, I did like it. but I could see how people thought, man, it did get a little busy.
That's what I said on Cinephile, my podcast. I said what ends up happening is that it's the perfect move for the ADD generation. Don't like that superhero? Don't worry, here's another one.
Yeah.
Don't like that one? Here's another one. And I think somebody said of all the movies you have to watch, if you don't know Guardians of the Galaxy, then you'll be really confused watching this. You're going, why is there a big blue guy and there's a raccoon that sounds like Bradley Cooper and Chris Pratt making quips? So I think that's one. If you have to watch something, watch Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy is important. For my money, Tony Stark is the most important character in the entire series. So if you've missed out on the Iron Man franchise, you're probably a bit lost as well. Yep. And then Black Panther plays a pretty prominent role. It's the recency bias, the most recent one running up to this. So I think those three franchises and Thor Ragnarok presents a lot of things.
He was really good.
Thor's an underrated character.
Yeah,
I know Iron Man's
agree.
great, and I think that obviously you have that cachet with those major stars, but Thor's actually got a good sense of humor. I like him.
If you didn't know a lot about Vision or Doctor Strange, you were going to have some trouble in this movie.
That is true.
Strange,
yeah.
Doctor Strange, weirdly, you needed a lot of that movie in this one.
Yeah, you
who
really
do you
got a lot.
the weakest of the superheroes? Like, who, when you saw them on screen, you go, okay, I can get this going. Like, I can't get enough Iron Man. Guardians guys I love. Who's the one you kind of go, all right, we can speed this sucker up a little bit. Black Widow, you're not crazy about.
Yeah, I was glad they did away with Hawkeye for this one. Like, it's great character.
Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy Renner's a great character, great quips, all those things. But really, how's he going to factor into this one?
The bow and arrow. He's trying to get Thanos.
And I'm forgetting the names of the Vision, the girl that
Red Witch.
Scarlet Witch. Let me tell you what. She got some power.
Yeah.
She's got some power.
Yeah.
Now, the weakest one was Scarlett Johansson. She's
Black Widow.
It's not a great character. I'm with you on that.
We're just talking weakest one.
Of course,
The weakest one by ability. Everything else, we're doing okay there. If you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about?
Bring the heat there.
Okay, but as far as from the superhero ability,
Yeah. Thanos, a very good villain.
Thanos was a fantastic villain. You know who I loved in this one? I love the whole comedic Hulk thing in this one.
Right, because Ruffalo keeps trying to turn into Hulk.
Yeah.
That was the one thing I was weirdly out on.
You didn't like that.
I want to see more Hulk.
I want to see more Hulk. I thought the intermittent changing in there was kind of shoddy. Yeah. As for all the CGI we have, I thought that was a really poor use of it. For me, that was the one part I was out on. That storyline,
really?
I was like, I can punt on that.
I like that, and I think in the next one you're going to get a lot more Hulk.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's so blatantly obvious they're setting it up for the big Hulk smash at the end here. Right. So I could have done without that portion.
Wow, that's interesting. I liked that.
Fair point. I do like Hulk. All right, so our friend Brett Parada, our researcher on the show, Avengers characters broken down like NFL draft prospects.
There you go.
Iron Man, not a ton of God-given physical gifts, but his Wonderlic scores are through the roof. He's
that's
very
perfect.
snarky. He's
that's
very
very
smart.
good. I do like that. The Hulk is right on. Incredibly high upside when he decides to play, not extremely coachable. Really good.
He just wants to smash.
That is really good.
A lot of personal fouls, 15-yard penalties are always going to be a concern.
Captain America, passionate, old school leader. Some are worried the game has passed him by.
I like that. He is definitely a relic of the past.
Captain America is Paul Puzzlesny, 1,000%.
Just fundamentals, dry.
Great. I was going to say, his teammates are crying when he retires, but unfortunately, he just doesn't have the juice
Thor's
right now.
the best one. Prototypical body type, and he can definitely bring the hammer in the open field.
Oh, there you go.
That's what we're talking about.
I like that.
That's what we're looking for.
Doctor Strange, most cerebral player in the draft, really has the ability to slow the game down. Well done.
You got to worry about keeping him engaged, though. He'll just start randomly going forward into the future. He's like the Josh Rosen of this draft class.
I love Thanos. Natural fit for the Titans. Major concerns his obsessions with getting stoned. Will cut his career short.
Yeah,
they just need to change
haven't seen the movie. You guys can have stoned.
Yeah.
Change the testing policy.
I do like Starlight. Chris Pratt, by the way, was really good in this. Really enjoyed it. Doesn't put in the work. Doesn't put work in the off the field. Didn't read the playbook and frequently audibles. That's so true.
Yep.
Cost your team the game.
Do I look fat? Really? All right, I'm gonna get a Bowflex. Yeah.
And Spider-Man, young but extremely coachable. Great natural feel for the game. He's a very instinctual player.
Very good. Good stuff.
Brett Parada. Once again, Cinephile, ESPN app, and iTunes is my podcast. Coming up, how the NFL enforced their new safety rules. Are kickoffs going away? We'll ask a coach who's there. Next on Golic and Wingo.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like a whole new person. Disclaimer, you will not become a whole new person. This is impossible. You might be able to join a gym or diet program, buy a new wardrobe, get hair implants, but your DNA and physical form will remain the same. Geico waives any and all liability if you attempt to become a new person, except a cyborg. If you choose to become a half-human, half-cybernetic organism with lasers for eyes, the Geico legal team would be cool with that, because, quote, laser eyes are pretty sweet. Pew, 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 end quote.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15%.
Time for an oil change? Head to Jiffy Lube. We've got you covered. We've also got you covered when it comes to oil changes, thanks to Pennzoil Synthetic Motor Oil, getting you back on the road in a jiffy. Jiffy Lube. Leave worry behind.
Great to have you with us here on Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News. A wonderful way to get your day started. Adnan Virk in for Trey today alongside Mike Golic and Mike Golic Jr. As always, we are presented by Progressive Insurance and all of our phone guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Been a fun hour so far. We talked about not only the Avengers characters as if they were NFL draft prospects, but also what will happen tonight with the Raptors and Cavaliers and the Jazz. Nice win over Houston. But let's switch over to the NFL.
Yeah.
And a lot of talk right now, Mike, about potential changes to the kickoff.
Yeah, there is. You know, they're meeting right now talking about the rule changes with how using the head and what's going to be a penalty or not. And then the big talk about the kickoff and what's going to go there. We're going to talk to Dan Quinn, head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, but I know he's listening now as well. I'd like him to hear it as well. We had Lorenzo Alexander, the linebacker out for the Buffalo Bills, been in the league, 34 years old, been in the league forever, special teams guy for a lot of those years. He gave his thought on just what he thought, how they would change the kickoff and what direction it might go.
There's different ways. If you make that more into a punt style thing, now we're kind of running alongside each other and you're more body blocking and, trying to press guys out and get positioned that way. You can kind of eliminate some of those high impact shots that some guys are taking, just sitting there trying to absorb and take a charge, which you're taught to do, and try to prevent the guy from making a tackle.
So that was Lorenzo Alexander, linebacker of the Buffalo Bills. Atlanta Falcons head coach Dan Quinn joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. So, Dan, what do you make of Lorenzo Alexander's idea?
Well, good to be on with you guys, and I think Lorenzo's on it. You know, there's a number of discussions that we can do or can have, and possibility of eliminating some of the two-man wedges, and I'm sure both senior and junior have been a part of many of those, and also moving some of the back line up, where you don't have to have the distance for the collision. So that's a big part of it, and we're just trying to get where we can eliminate some of these hits that have caused some concussions, the ones that lowering the head, that those are where really the majority of them have. So that's really where the rule came from. And but Lorenzo's right. There's other ways that we can make it better. And just like most things, players adapt, coaches adapt. I'm sure Mike Sr., the wham and cut play, you didn't mind when they couldn't come, from outside the box and cut you anymore. So we adjusted and players and coaches changed. So I think that'll be the case with this too. So I was pumped to go up and be a part of it. And hopefully in a lot of ways make the game better.
Players will adjust, and we'll get to how they're going to penalize the head coming into the play and the helmet coming into play in a minute. But we know for sure they're not getting rid of the kickoff, at least anytime soon. Are they when this year starts, Dan, will the kickoff look different, or is it something that will be put off for a while, or will something happen this year?
I think there could be something that happens this year, Mike. And the reason I say that is they're getting together again today, this afternoon, the competition committee, to kind of finalize some thoughts to bring back to the owners one last time. So I think that could be something. I think the change isn't going to be a radical one, but the small changes, kind of like I suggested, is it moving the back line up? Is it, no more of the two-man wedge type things, which would basically, in some ways, take rid of some of the offensive linemen who are back on the wedge and use that as more, of the, typical special teams, linebackers, DBs, running backs, that crew, in that phase.
Thank God is all I can say as a former offensive lineman. On that, talking to Dan Quinn on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, I'm interested, how much conversation about this do you hear from players, just because for so many guys, this is a way to break into the league for guys that are backups in a lot of those skill and big skill positions. This is how they first get onto the field. How concerned are players with this?
You know what? I addressed that with the team yesterday. I'd gotten back and, kind of talked to the team and just about, what we'd discussed. And so from a concern standpoint, there shouldn't be, because we're going to have the same amount of special teams plays. And I think in a positive way, if we can, really, keep pushing this, to, really reduce the amount of concussions, that's our number one job as teachers, which are coaches. So we kind of made the pact, hey, some of us, let's make some training tapes basically at each position. You guys probably sat in team meetings, and like for both of you, it might have shown like a DB doing the hit. It didn't really apply to either of you. So let's make one that's just specific for an offensive lineman, specific for a receiver, a DB, a linebacker, a fullback. And I think those are the teaching moments that we can all share amongst the 32 teams, and like where everybody's, kind of speaking the same language, and I think that would help too.
Talking right now with Dan Quinn, the Atlanta Falcons head coach, Super Bowl champion with the Seahawks. And obviously, Dan, a guy who's been around football, been working in the NFL since 2001. I'm sure you've heard that when it comes to special teams. People saying, listen, this is where certain guys can make their name. If you take out kickoffs, all of a sudden you're removing that. But what would you say is a counter to that, if indeed this goes in that direction?
Well, I don't think it'll go that way this year. And like most things, let's give us a chance to get it exactly right and the best thing for the players. Let's make sure in all instances we're always taking care of them in the right way. So what I would say is, let's make the necessary adjustments. Players, coaches, we've adapted for years. So let's do it again. And if we can make the kickoff phase better, let's do that. And so that's kind of what our aim is, and that's what I hope the committee decides to do. In this offseason, Dan, everybody was waiting for them to, how are they going to define a catch? And then that was blown out of the water by all of a sudden that use of the helmet, by any position was going to result in a flag and possible ejection, and everybody was going, wow, okay, wait a minute. How has it been explained to you on how they are going to enforce that on the field? And that's probably the ones I think that we need to make the training tapes on, Mike. So in other words, for let's just say a defensive end, and he's in a real wide 9, is that big bull rush where he really lowers his head, is that a foul? Because a lot of them, like, let's face it, the running back who drops his head near the contact, that's not going to change. We're not going to ask a running back who's, about to get tackled to stay upright. So I think it's going to be really specific to the position. And that's why I think as long as we can train the guys, these are some of the things that could be fouled. And at the end of it, I think, Mike, it'll end up being the ones that really look bad. Those are the hits we need out of the game. There's certainly going to be helmet contact that's initiated where it's lowered. So I think there has to be some judgment upon those. The one that's, not a big hit, that's not going in that way, I think they'll use their best judgment at those ones.
Talking to Dan Quinn on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And Coach, I'm interested, do you feel better equipped to handle this considering your background? I mean, you coach with Pete Carroll. You guys in Seattle were among the first to start teaching that rugby-style tackling that began taking the head out of a lot of these hits. Do you look at that as, what was your guys' motivation for getting started on that really before I think a lot of the league has started to look at that?
Number one, just for the first part of it, we still think you can be tough as hell, but let's make sure if we can take care of the players better and really emphasize, the shoulder and the tackle, that's a big part of it. But even us, when we go back through and watch the cut-ups, there's definitely, examples of a player not doing that. And, for years, tackled this way in high school and in college. So it's not going to be, in just, one, training session fixed. And I think that's the same thing with this rule. This is a long-term plan, to get our game better. You guys recognize that. So I think there'll be some on-the-job training as it's going to keep getting it better. And I think as we look, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, if we're just going to keep improving, where we're able to keep our head up, use our shoulders more, the game gets better. And but I don't think it's, in one season going to, all of a sudden this is the new rule and it changes everything. I think it's, work in progress as we go, but I'm pumped that it's a first step for it. Going down to the youth leagues, I think this next youth league crew all the way up to what everyone's make it to professional sports, you could see a whole different swing in how the game is played by technique. But just as you mentioned, this year and the next few years, but let's go to training camp. Let's go to in-season when you only have 14 padded practices. Training camp, only 1 padded practice a day, and a lot of it isn't full go. How do you practice this stuff correctly? I know it, man. That's really one of the topics we had, and I was sitting with Todd Bowles, and we had discussed, and for both of us heading into our first preseason game for this year, we'll have had 8 padded practices. And so our concern was, we're going to have, a huge amount of fouls in our first game. But, we encourage, hey, man, let's have the officials at, just as many practices as we can, because a lot of this is only going to be really evaluated when the pads come on, because during all the OTAs, the mandatory minicamp, those portions, obviously, you're not lowering your head anyway. So those first, few weeks of training camp, I think there's going to be, significant training, having the officials there and really having good dialogue about, what's a foul and what's not a foul. So as we get into the preseason games, Mike, I think that's going to be an important time that we take those games to really nail it and get it better as we're heading into the regular season.
Excellent perspective, definitely, on safety in the game right now. Talking with Dan Quinn, the Falcons head coach. I do want to ask you specifically about your team, coach, and the fact you added a dynamic receiver, Calvin Ridley, out of Alabama. What are you hoping to see from him?
Just that explosiveness and, the amount of explosive plays, that Cal was able to generate, during his time at Alabama. We're pumped to see him as be a part of our offense and get rolling with that. So that was the big thing, having another complement in our offense to be able to attack. And so that's really what, how we want to feature him, and we'll play him at a number of different spots, both outside and inside. So we're looking forward to getting them here. They arrive next Thursday, so a week from today, and we're looking forward to adding those guys to the mix.
Yeah, great Alabama chatter between Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. Why not? Just more Alabama talk between those guys. Coach, we really appreciate your time. Going to be real interesting when that training film comes around in training camp for all these players to see what may affect their position. I agree with you. That's going to be an important time. We appreciate your time this morning. Thanks.
Yeah, back at you guys, and let's share that with everybody. It goes down to college, to high school, and it's all of our responsibility to, keep the game that we all love, pushing forward in the right way.
Great point, Dan. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Coach.
All right. See you guys.
All right, Dan Quinn, the Atlanta Falcons head coach. Excellent perspective.
Listen, it really is, and this, again, goes down to the youth football and the next generation coming through and what that group is going to learn from heads-up football and proper technique and coaches that are certified all the way through. But, that's in a number of years. There's the now, and that's why I asked that question. You're part of this generation of, I saw you in the camps in Pittsburgh and in New Orleans, where you have one practice where a lot of the starters practice because there's only one in pads. You get a few reps, and then the next practice is in shorts. That's why I said, when can you practice this? You're not practicing in OTAs. When are you practicing the proper tackling or the technique that's now going to be a flag?
Yeah, the modern NFL demands efficiency. It demands that you don't waste time doing drills that maybe in the past you would have used to fill a 3-hour practice over the course of 2 days, where you've got to worry about guarding against exhaustion for some guys, although they didn't really care with a lot of you. But it's finding ways to be creative, but also to make sure you're mimicking the on-the-field play as best you can. And that was my point in all this, is I think Dan Quinn and I think coaches like him and Pete Carroll are more equipped to handle this because they were doing it before it was required. Seattle's been teaching that style of tackling for a long time. They've been on the cutting edge of this, and so I think the transition becomes easier for these teams that we've seen around the league that have started on their own.
Yeah, that's ultimately what it comes down to. It's too simplistic, right, to say, football's a dangerous game, you can't fix it, violence is part of the game. Yes, it is, but you can obviously get at a base level to help people and to improve safety. Yeah. And everybody's aware of the issues faced in the league. Now it's just a matter of implementing them. Golic and Wingo is presented by Progressive's Home Insurance. Get your quote at Progressive.com today. Adnan Virk in for Trey, alongside Golic and Mike Golic Jr. As right now, let's check out what's trending. So we move from football to basketball. The Utah Jazz snapping their 11-game skid in the conference semifinals by upsetting the Rockets 116-108, evening the series at 1 game apiece. Donovan Mitchell joining John Stockton as the only Jazz rookies with a 10-assist playoff game. And how about this? 4th rookie in NBA history, 200 points he scored in his first 8 playoff games. The very short list includes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, and Elgin Baylor.
Listen, for this win, you love what Mitchell does. I get it. Didn't score a ton, but really dished the ball well. Joe Ingles, you always wonder where that one player steps up. And you get Joe Ingles, a guy that gets a career high with 27 points, hits 7 and 9 threes. You get the unexpected at times of some guy that picks up the slack somewhere else. The bottom line in this for Houston, you were down 19, you got the lead back in the third quarter. You lost the lead. For Houston, which does play better defensively. They're not great defensively, but they play better defensively. You had a chance, you had the lead, and you're a 3-point shooting team, and you didn't make your threes. I mean, it can boil. It's not only that, but that's certainly a big factor of it.
It is, and I think the reason you're confident going forward is because you were best at that all year. You attempted more threes than anybody. You made more threes than anybody. So one off night doesn't all of a sudden mean you sound the alarm and change your plan. This is what you do. You stick with that plan. It has made you the overwhelming number 1 seed and mostly talked about as the best team in the NBA all year.
And Houston takes their foot off the pedal, but you don't all of a sudden watch that game and say, now it's a different series. Right. You figured Utah was going to push them a little bit, and Houston naturally, if it goes 6 games, this is the one they lose. Maybe game 3 will be a different story in Salt Lake. Also, the Cavaliers facing the Raptors, 6 Eastern on ESPN. That's tonight. 1-0 series lead. LeBron James's teams have a 21-0 series record with a 2-0 lead.
Well done. So forget all the stats.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Are you nervous about Are you nervous about tonight?
Absolutely. If the Raptors lose tonight, the series is over. I mean, it could be a sweep at that point. Whereas if they win, I think it goes back to what most prognosticators said, which is competitive series, 6 or 7 games. Junior?
Jurassic Park's gonna have a lot of tears in it tonight.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I don't. On the Toronto side of this thing, Mike, I don't know which Cavalier is going to step up. I don't. And that's not even Cleveland knows that. LeBron will try and get his guys involved, but you have no idea who steps up.
Relative to his Game 1 performance, it's probably going to be LeBron, and that'll probably be enough.
But J.R. Smith's not scoring 20. Kyle Korver's not scoring 19. Tristan Thompson, your boy, is not scoring 14.
Maybe not.
Oh, Canada. I thought that was actually Brett.
I did too.
I thought that was actually Brett just on the mic.
Parada
Brett,
just
let's
breaks
hear
into
it.
song.
You know, I don't want to share my gift with the world just now.
Come on, just give us a little one, just quick.
No, I'm not doing. I haven't done my vocal exercises. I can't be.
Big Shark Smith.
Oh, wow.
About that.
Brett never wanted to shy away from the moment. A little disappointed right now.
Yep.
Oh, Canada. Oh, there you go.
That was actually
Brett.
There's no question. Now that I hear it more and more, it sounds like Brett. Also, baseball news. The Mets' Jacob deGrom departing with a hyperextended right elbow. He left the Mets game against Atlanta last night. I was watching. It was great through 4. He struck out 6, and then Mets manager Mickey Callaway said the injury occurred when he swung and missed. You saw him grimacing right afterwards. Listen, so much for the Mets' hot start, and here come the Mets. All of a sudden now you say, well, if DeGrom's out for an extended period of time, underrated pitcher and a really valuable guy to that pitching staff.
This is when we were talking about the Mets' hot start and the Mets pitcher right off the bat and how well they're doing. Every Met fan out there was saying, just wait for it. And there's the shoe that drops. And there you go. And here you go to DeGrom, who's been pitching well. Now, we don't know where it's going to go or how bad it is, but I'm sure every Met fan is saying, okay, tip of the iceberg, here we go.
At least the Mets have the decency to do this to their fans during the regular season, unlike the Raptors who wait till the playoffs.
Listen, I'm all for tricks. This is very quick with the he's just trying to make a point.
Does seem, yeah. We're trying to make points for people out there.
No, it's fine. They saved me from having to try and talk more baseball.
This is awfully hasty.
But did you see what Yoenis Cespedes happened with him?
So this is crazy.
Holy smokes.
He's sliding in a second, and as either Neil Everett or Stan Barrett said, it's diamonds in the diamond. He hustled into the bag, and Cespedes, while stretching after play, noticed one of his necklaces was broken, pulled it off his neck, threw it to the ground, scattering gems around the diamond. And Asdrubal Cabrera, his teammate, and umpire Bill Welke ended up picking pieces of the necklace. And there's $10,000 there and $5,000 here.
Okay, let's now put on our honest caps, okay? Yeah. If you're over there helping, are you slipping one of those gems in your pocket?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously?
Hell yeah.
I mean, are you kidding me? He just literally rips the chain off his neck and throw it there. There are diamonds everywhere.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
This one buys Daddy a
car. Especially the umpire.
Clubs.
Umpire ain't getting paid what the ball players are getting paid, man. Here's one for you. Here's one for me. Yeah.
Hey, I think Asdrubal Cabrera might be in the up and up the umpires, definitely.
Wow.
We all have our relative spheres. Like, I'm not above that. I've gone to the floor for less, all right? I've been at clubs where dudes have decided they're going to pop off and throw dollars in the air. Right. I'm not above a crouch and grab, all right? I'll go down there. I'm not that rich, all right? I'm not at some point where I am above grabbing a few extra singles off the ground.
Right. Somebody's throwing singles and you're grabbing them?
Oh, yeah.
Are you wearing any kind of thong or anything
like
listen,
that? You know what? I can be fully I can be whatever you need me to be, all right?
Okay. Skimming off the top, a time-honored tradition when it comes to the singles.
Diamonds on the diamond, though. I love the call.
You ever had a situation, NFL player had jewelry, lost it, earrings, something like that?
No, I mean, it's not like the Aqib Talib and Crabtree, grabbing the chain and pulling out. Right. I was always amazed that people wear jewelry on any kind of field.
The guys that wear earrings terrify me with helmets on.
Blows my mind. Yeah. Who was the dude from the Cowboys that he had a nipple ring on and got it ripped off? I mean, seriously?
Yeah.
I mean, really?
Oof. Yeah, a
seriously.
Ring. It's already
the nipple ring is something in and of itself, but then to get it ripped off?
Not for nothing.
At practice?
I had a friend, those
David Irving was his name.
Those cryo chambers, those big crypto chambers? Had a buddy of mine, a backup quarterback of the Saints, rupture a nipple in one of those.
Oh.
Wait, got in the cryo chamber.
It was so cold, it ruptured his nipple.
Seriously? Okay.
Scout's honor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
one of the things is Mike Golic Jr. is about to depart. The three of us, did you guys know this? We were on HBO last week. Real Sports of Bryant Gumbel did an interview with Derek Jeter. Gumbel went down there, and they showed a clip of the three of us, and I think it might have been a Love It or Shove It or whatever it was. Right. We were talking about the Marlins mascot getting fired.
Oh.
And it was you saying, Derek Jeter is stripping this team bare. And then me saying, what was that saying?
Did we get...
what's ready?
Did we get credit for it?
I was going to say, I was so happy. I'm like, hey, you spoke, I spoke, Mike was in the camera. Like, hey,
see, like
HBO's Real Sports.
Add that to my IMDb page.
Somebody clipped that off.
Bottom line is you can all be proud now of the fact you can say, we've gone in different directions than we thought we would have. Brian Cumble knows us. He loves us.
Yeah.
By the way, the clip was from What's Trending, not Love It or Shove It, just to clear the record. But yes, we were on HBO.
Oh my God, is that big a deal, Stan? Who cares? You're getting in his ear for that?
But I was trying to tell him in his ear, and he was confused, and he was flustered. And I wanted to
leave the
explain
man alone. You already got the clock in his ear messing up. Leave him alone.
You know what? In Stanzik's defense, we are in What's Trending right now, so it's good.
Thank you, Michael.
Right,
Easy tie-in.
I thought for a second we had the sound, but I'm like, great, we can end What's Trending. We have the sound of us talking.
There's going to be some fingers broken and button pushing back there is what's going to happen. Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Here's a little insider travel secret. There are tons of empty hotel rooms out there just waiting to be booked. That's why there's Hotel Tonight. Hotel Tonight partners with awesome hotels to help them fill their unsold rooms, which means you get incredible deals. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can actually book up to a week in advance and up to 100 days in advance in top destinations. So download the Hotel Tonight app to start scoring better deals at better hotels now.
Let's bring in our friend Adam Schefter right now. Of course, the Adam Schefter podcast, and AJ Green, Mel Kiper Jr., and Todd McShay on this week's episode. Download and subscribe on the ESPN app and an Apple podcast. Schefter, thanks so much for the time today. There's a proposal being finalized to make kickoffs in the NFL more like a punt play. We were talking to Dan Quinn about it earlier this hour. What do you make of the proposal? What can you tell us about it?
Look, the NFL has put a lot of time into this, and it almost sounds as if the kickoff eventually is going to become obsolete. And it's not happening right now, but it could happen over time. And you saw the data on these particular plays. They just view the kickoff as one of the most dangerous plays in football, to the point where when they are trying to change the culture, of the sport, they're starting there. Like Rich McKay cited numbers yesterday that there were 71 concussions suffered by players on kickoffs over the last 3 years. And they believe that their injury data shows players are 5 times more likely to suffer concussions on kickoffs than other plays. So when that's the case, and there's such a concentrated effort to try to reduce the number of concussions, that's one of the first places that they're going to look.
So we'll see what changes. Again, we had Dan Quinn on, head coach of the Atlanta Falcons on. He was at those meetings. He said you're definitely going to see some difference in the kickoff this year. We'll see what happens. As far as, I think another thing that worries players, Adam, is the thought not only of using your head and how it's going to be flagged this year, but when they start using the word ejections, the possibility of ejections from a game, that's going to make some players go, uh-oh, okay, what's the difference here? How much do we think that is going to be involved in the game this season?
Well, I think what they're going to do is, first of all, they're going to go around to every training facility, and they're going to try to explain to the players the new rules and what they're looking for and not looking for. Now, do I think that we're going to see some players ejected early on that sends a message that everybody learns from? I would think that's possible, likely even. I don't think it'll be this massive ejections every single week all season. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think that they're going to try to set a tone with that and try to do their best to explain to everybody what it looks like so that they avoid that scenario. Mike, I don't think they want to throw players out of the game, but they want things to be tightened up, buttoned up. They don't want to see the lowering of the helmet, and they want to see what is an unsafe game made a little bit safer if they can try to do it that way.
Yeah, obviously safety definitely is of paramount importance. Talking right now with Adam Schefter on Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Reports, Schefter, by Baker Mayfield's agent, if Mayfield was available at 2, the Patriots are thinking about potentially moving up to get him. How legitimate are those claims?
Well, it depends on what you want to say is legitimate in those claims. Do I think the Patriots had an interest in Baker Mayfield? Yes. They met with him the Monday before the draft. So clearly they were doing their intel and diligence on Baker Mayfield. But let's not forget this, that to go from 23 to 2 is extraordinarily difficult. You have to sacrifice almost your entire draft. And this is a New England team that really had a lot of holes to fill, a lot of needs to address. And I don't think they ever were going to go up to number 2 to go get Baker Mayfield. I think this was the kind of situation where the Patriots were simply being the Patriots, as any smart team would do, doing their due diligence. And in the event that Baker Mayfield began to slide, and I don't know what that spot is, whether that's 8, 10, 14, whatever it is, that if he had slid, would they have made some calls? I think that's possible. But to go from where they were up to number 2, I think is just way too ambitious in my mind for them to have undertaken. I never heard that could happen. That's not to say it couldn't have, but that was an awful long way to go for a guy that I think they liked. I do think they liked him, but not enough to trade up from 23 to 2.
Completely 100% agree with you there. We're talking to Adam Schefter. Then we have a guy who's proven himself on the field, and that would be safety Eric Reed, who can't get a job right now. And the latest now filing a complaint against the league for collusion that pretty much is going to nix him out of any job that's out there. So while he has certainly crossed over that line to knowing he probably won't have a job in the NFL, what do you think his chances are? From what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, what he has to prove is at least just 2. If he can prove 2 owners colluded to not sign him, he could win this. So kind of take us through the process and then how you think he may fare in this.
Well, listen, I think the blueprint is being provided here by Colin Kaepernick and his attorneys, because he's using the same attorney that Colin Kaepernick is using. And obviously he was with Colin Kaepernick and is friends with Colin Kaepernick. So he's gotten a lay of the land of how this will play out. Now, my understanding is that Colin Kaepernick has deposed about 20 people in the NFL so far. And we don't know when that case is going to be resolved and what the outcome is going to be. But I can tell you that I'm sure that Eric Reed's case will follow along the lines of what Colin Kaepernick is doing. And what Kaepernick has done that is or isn't successful is something that Reed will try to duplicate. Look, it's a copycat league, right? We hear it all the time. Well, it's a copycat courtroom here. And we're going to see Eric Reed, I think, try to do some of the same things that Colin Kaepernick has done. But to me, when he does this, when he follows this collusion grievance, I think there's got to be so much thought that and consideration that's given to this, because when you do this, you are dramatically decreasing the chances that you will ever play in the NFL again. And in a way, to me, you're almost ending your NFL career by following agreements like this, right?
Yeah.
Because if you couldn't get work before, and I was not convinced that it was related to this right away, maybe I was completely naive, but when you do this, what are the chances that another team is going to go sign you now? Probably very, very small. Now, maybe some team goes to camp and suffers an injury this summer and finds its safety position is decimated, and they think that Eric Reed would be an upgrade because he's a very good player. But short of that, right now, he's out of the league, and it doesn't look like he's getting back in anytime soon.
Big Ben Roethlisberger, Schefter, he said he wants to play 3 to 5 more years after questions about how long he will play. We seem like we always get this dance. He has a bad game or a bad performance or injury. I don't know how much longer I want to play. 3 to 5 years seems like a lot for Roethlisberger to put his name to. What'd you make of it?
Well, he said something very similar after last season. I mean, it's not all that different from what he said then. I think the difference is this time it was almost like marking his territory, walking over to fire hydrant and saying, this is my job. I know you took a quarterback in the 3rd round, but not so fast. I'm not ready to give up on this job just yet. And I just think it's interesting that we've got all these quarterbacks from the same draft class, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers. None of them right now are ready to walk away from the game. None of them are close to walking away from the game. They're 36, they're 37. Tom Brady's 41. So if Tom Brady can do it, and is providing a little bit of a roadmap for some of these guys, why can't Ben Roethlisberger play another 3, 4, 5 more years? I mean, I always remember with John Elway when he was playing at his retirement press conference, he always talked about the fact that, when he first got into the league, he'd wake up and the next day he'd be sore, and then 3, 4 years into the league, he'd be sore all the way until Wednesday, and then 7, 8 years into the league, he'd be sore to the following Saturday. And eventually, he got to the point when you play the game long enough that you just play with that perpetual soreness all year long, and it just wears you down physically. And I would imagine these quarterbacks are facing that sort of prospect, but they take better care of themselves these days than ever before, and they want to keep playing. And certainly their skills have not diminished very much. There's no question about that. They're still at the top of their game. You'd still want to have those quarterbacks on your team. And again, the fact that the Steelers have drafted a quarterback like that, they should have done that because Ben Roethlisberger has talked about the fact that he's worried about concussions and worried about the shortness of his career and wants to spend more time with his family. But, where he's at today is the fact that he believes he can play multiple seasons and would like to do that.
Adam Schefter, thanks so much for the insight. As always, the Adam Schefter podcast, you can find all of his great insight, and, of course, on Twitter, at Adam Schefter as well.
Thanks, Shefty.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Next, you're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie, this does look fun. You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
It's Golic and Wingo.
So is that
resolvable?
Well, everything's resolvable. Starts with
getting everybody in the same room.
Yeah, and everybody communicating, which for some reason can be very difficult to do. It ends up being a she said, he said thing. Nobody wants to get together.
And sometimes they can't be resolved. God, I hate you guys. I get caught on tape just basically disagreeing with myself. Yeah. SportsCenter brought to you by Amazon. Mother's Day is coming up. Instead of getting her the same expected gifts, find millions of gifts as unique as her on Amazon. You get free shipping on eligible orders over $25. Shop now at Amazon.com/Mother's Day.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. As always, we're presented by Progressive Insurance. I'm Adnan Virk in for Trey. And speaking of Mother's Day, we love this story.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Patrick Beverley's mom had herself a day on The Price is Right. Mm-hmm. By the way, think of game shows you like to be on. Price is Right's number one for me. Family Feud a close second, but I think The Price is Right would be so much fun.
I love Price is Right. We're going to throw it out there at Golic and Wingo. If you could be on a game show, which one would it be and why? You know what one of my favorite is?
Family Feud.
$10,000 pyramid or the $100,000 pyramid where I could win more. Password. I love Password as well. But Price is Right is great because you get multiple chances to win. And even if you get up on stage and you lose, you still get a chance to get in the showcase with the wheel, with spinning the wheel.
It is multiple chances. In the showcase, just to be able to spin the wheel once.
But Patrick Beverley's mom, Lisa, she was fantastic. So she got to come on down, as they say. Mm-hmm. She won on bidding against the three others when they had to bid on the prize.
I love this move. You bid $1.
Everybody went high. She was the last to bid. She bid $1 on kitchen appliance package. Mm-hmm. She won. She got to play Let 'Em Roll. She correctly guessed that, what is it?
Zizal. It's an allergy medication.
Was more expensive than garlic.
That's a cholesterol pill.
Thank you. Which was more expensive than mouthwash, which gave her a couple of extra rolls where she won a car.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have the drop of her winning the car.
Yep. One more time.
Unbelievable. So she gets up and plays the game, plays Let 'Em Roll, wins a car. Then she goes to the wheel to get into the showcase showdown. Dude in front of her rolls 95 cents. I mean, she's got to get $1 to beat him.
It's tough.
She gets $1 to beat him.
Yes.
Can you imagine the dude standing there at 95 cents thinking there's only one thing that can beat me and it beats me, and he gets knocked out of that?
Irate.
So she goes to the showcase where there's another car and a trip to Madagascar, and she wins that. She bid $22,000 on the showcase showdown, so she got 2 cars and a trip to Madagascar. The one thing I will say, the total value of the day was over $41,000 with a trip to Madagascar and 2 cars.
You're not flying first class.
What the hell kind of cars were they?
Smart cars.
2 cars and a trip and other stuff that she won, and it's 41 G's. I mean, but What a day.
No, amazing.
And I love that show. How cool that, and listen, she got the show. She understood it, going up there and doing her thing. She was quick with the $1.
Yeah.
I mean, she knew her stuff.
You have to know the game well.
She knew her stuff.
You've got to know household appliances like the back of your hand. You've got to know prices of everything, right?
She was great. She had a great shirt on that said NBA Mom as well.
Clippers logo for Patrick Beverley.
Very, very cool. It was what a great moment. She just absolutely cleaned up.
Price is Right is awesome. But how great is Jeopardy? Alex Trebek, fellow Canadian.
No shot.
No, but listen, that's a big
test. I can't win at Jeopardy. I have no shot at winning at Jeopardy.
No.
I shop all the time.
Right.
I have a chance on Price is Right to guess some prices.
Right.
I have zero. Is there less than zero? Unless there is a second grade version or a simple math version of Jeopardy, I'm out.
You're belying your Notre Dame education.
No,
when they throw up Renaissance painters, you're like, all right, I've got this. Go ahead. I'm going to go back.
Seriously? There is zero shot.
But the bragging rights of Jeopardy. Remember Ken Jennings? He was unbelievable. That run he went on, like people remember that stuff.
That's a select group, Adnan, of a very small percentage of people that would have bragging rights on Jeopardy. Right. I mean, the common person, the regular Joe and Jane out there would have a much better chance, right? At Price is Right. Would you rather win at Price is Right? How about Wheel of Fortune?
Wheel of Fortune's kind of nice.
I like Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, Vanna White, sure.
I do dig that.
Yeah.
But if you had one game show, what would you go on?
I think it would be Jeopardy.
Oh.
I think Jeopardy's a great, because Trey, if you win at Jeopardy, people really give you love.
You have that much?
No, I don't have much confidence.
No. What do you think you could actually win at?
Movie categories, I would do well.
Okay, there's a bunch of categories. You're looking for one movie category there?
Movies and sports, I would do well.
I
Pop culture,
I can't believe that you would want to go on Jeopardy. That's the one you...
Listen, it'd have to be that one. They do it for college students.
Do
the week of college
I would need
a little bit easier.
Great kindergarten students. I mean, seriously.
Sports Jeopardy. Dan Patrick hosts that, so maybe Sports Jeopardy. Sports Jeopardy you would do.
Sports Jeopardy I would do. I still wouldn't feel comfortable. I would way rather do
Russian literature for 100 hours.
Oh my God. I would just hit the button every time and throw out a guess and have so much negative amounts out there.
You'd be purposely trying to screw over people.
I really think my favorite show, and again, we want it out there at Golic and Wingo, which would you want to be on and why? I love the Pyramid. Love the Pyramid. I would be so nerve-wracking being in those two seats.
I think Family Feud's great, though, because if somebody lets you down, you can...
I do like Family Feud. I hate the fact that they clap on every answer. It's a bad answer. Just say, man, it was a stupid answer.
Yeah.
Why'd you say it? We're family.
Yeah. I'd love to see the Stugatz family on Family Feud.
Wow.
We'll go live to Miami, talk to the man who would win at Jeopardy. Stugatz next. Golic and Wingo.
Nowadays, everything has its own day, like National Take a Hike Day. At AARP, we're all about hikes and bikes and even swims because we're here to help you become your healthiest self. It's why we offer health tips for your body and your brain. Yeah, your brain. Today is your day to make fitness happen, and we're here to help. So take on today and every day with AARP. Learn how at takeontoday.aarp.